Hello, everyone. Welcome to October's Beer Conversations events. Joined today by Brandon Mark, who I'm really excited to speak with. To their experience with some insights about the industry. Before we get into our career conversation, just a little brief intro. First, to BuildGreenCT. For those of you not familiar, the mission for BuildGreenCT is to accelerate the just and sustainable transformation of the built environment and CT through education, advocacy, and community building. This event to all is targeted towards emerging professionals. So to join the organization as an emerging professional, you get discounted membership for $45, and still have full access as a member. Short discount information, building CT events and educational offerings, opportunities for professional development, education, and advancement, and you can have opportunities to connect with industry and thought leading students. Our next career conversation is scheduled for Thursday, November 16th at 4 p.m. We also have another couple other exciting events coming up. A site visit to a residential project featuring an insulated concrete form enclosure. So if I've seen that's that construction before, or if you're interested in different approaches that have for this building, that could be interesting. It'll be on November 13th. And then BuildGreenCT is planning its 2-year anniversary event, which will be a few weeks after that. So you can see somebody there. Before we get into our conversation, I just like to start by a brief introduction to myself, given the theme of this event is offering insights into career development and sort of providing different paths to enter into the sustainability sector. Just want to tell you a little bit how I got into the sector. I graduated with a degree in energy business and finance from Penn State. I spent some time working in construction after I realized I kind of wanted to get into sustainable building. Took an internship at a Green Council. So I did a full-time job after that. So I ended up going to City College, Master in Sustainability and Urban Environment. Actually, my first semester in that program, I had a professor who was an employee at 475. I was influenced by the time, so he helped me get involved in turning and ever since, about 8 years now. But enough about me. We're here to talk about Brandon. Thanks for joining us today, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I guess we'll go right into it. Starting with your current role. Can you tell us a little bit about your current role at Stamford as an energy engineer and sustainability manager?
Yeah, so I've been in this role for about 2 years now. The role is pretty interesting in that I'm housed in kind of the engineering department, but I get to work kind of across the city on all sorts of projects that are associated with energy or sustainability. So that could be anywhere from building projects, retrofits of existing facilities, streetlights, solar projects, and kind of everything in between. Um, so that's kind of what I do now generally. But yeah, it's pretty broad, and I've been liking it a lot the last couple of years.
Very cool. Are there any projects that you're actively working on that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, we're in the midst of selection for a citywide streetlight project where we're going to be converting the rest of our streetlights from HPS to LED. We're a little bit behind in doing that. We've done it a little bit over the years, but due to lack of funding, we haven't been able to do the entire city, which is about 11,000 streetlights. So we did receive a grant a couple years ago from the DOE to kind of complete that project. And so we're bringing on a consultant to kind of help us do a full citywide audit to kind of get a handle of what our inventory is, get more data collection, come up with a really good conversion plan, and then kind of implementation. And the one part that we're really trying to set a foundation for is smart street lighting. There hasn't really been too much of that in Connecticut, but a lot of other states and countries around the world, they have what's called smart street lighting, where there's a number of different ways to go about it, but we're more so interested in it from like a operation and maintenance perspective, where we can, instead of having a regular like photo cell on top of the light, we have like it's called a smart node, and that just can tell us from our computers like what's going on with the light, and so we're not relying on residents to, submit tickets to get things repaired. So it'll really help address our current inventory of streetlights. So that's going to be pretty fun. I just went to a conference about street lighting. I didn't even know there were conferences about street lighting, but that was really eye-opening. I had a lot of fun there, learned a lot. Um, it's surprising how deep you can get into the topic that kind of seems so mundane to the rest of the world.
Totally. It's always funny when you find yourself at like a particularly niche conference. Um,
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely a niche one.
yeah, absolutely. Very interesting. It sounds like a project that would establish not only efficiency and sustainability, but also just efficiency in urban planning. Very cool. It sounds like a lot of moving pieces on that project. How do you fit in, or what services and support are you providing?
Yeah, so I take on more of like a project management type role. So I was the one who kind of wrote all of the RFP documents to kind of define the scope of the project. And I'll be kind of working alongside the vendor that we end up selecting to make sure that it's kind of implemented in the way that's, most satisfactory to the city.
Fantastic. And before you were working for Stanford, you were working at Avangrid.
Yep. Yeah, I was working for Avangrid. For those of you who aren't aware of that naming, it's United Illuminating, or Southern Connecticut Gas or Connecticut Natural Gas. It's kind of a conglomerate of different utility companies. But I worked there for about 3.5 years as a energy engineer for the new construction and major renovation incentive program. So I was the program lead for there. I helped kind of define, program rules and guidelines for how to get incentives for projects that kind of go above and beyond code baseline. So I stopped that maybe, I guess, like 2.5 years ago, maybe. And then I've been at Stanford since.
Any particular developments in terms of incentives that you feel were particularly effective you were involved in, or maybe the opposite, things that didn't work as well?
Yeah, and one thing that I really liked that was kind of where the program was headed was more of a performance-based incentives. For new construction projects, previously it was either, prescriptive things where there's like already known calculations for determining energy savings for like certain measures, or you could kind of go the more traditional route where you do an energy model, but that never really gave you the full picture as to like the how the building is actually performing. We would always just kind of, oh, the building is rated to perform at such and such level. But we would kind of wipe our hands clean after that, we wouldn't really be engaged with the client or the building afterwards. So the program kind of took a direction where we're kind of continuously monitoring the performance post occupancy to see if that EUI, that energy use intensity for that building is kind of where it's expected to be. And that kind of made incentive levels go higher. And then there's a really big push for electrification in terms of like geothermal and VRF systems. So that was exciting.
Fantastic. Yeah, really. Just kind of working backwards now. Your MS was in sustainable living. Can you talk a little bit about what that is? What's your
Yeah,
study?
yeah. So it's kind of an odd, or I guess unique type of degree program. Um, Yeah, so it was a program. It was through the School of Industrial Engineering as well as Mechanical Engineering at RIT. It was I mostly focused on mechanical and electrical systems, renewable energy, and but it's with the sustainability focus and environmental focus. So people kind of go into any sort of type of role when they leave there. Like I have other folks that I went to school with that um, work for other utility companies, work for design firms or energy modelers. Some go into, like manufacturing, but more on the kind of the lean manufacturing side of things. Really, the main focus is, how can we apply engineering principles in a way that is also considering like the pillars of sustainability and making sure that, you're leaving things in a condition that's, better off than how you found it. And that's kind of been something I like to sort of live by. And so it was a really good program. I went there for about a couple of years and yeah.
Good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something that's important to all of us leaving Earth in a place to be founded. Would you say that sort of attitude or that those sort of values are what drew you to a career in sustainability, or if not?
Um, I think so. I was actually trying to think like how did I even, get interested in this? Oddly enough, I think it kind of dates back to that old documentary from 2006 from Al Gore, Inconvenient Truth. I know that Doc got a lot of things wrong, but when I first saw it, I think I was in like sixth grade, and it was like one of the first documentaries I saw that was like super compelling and honestly gave me a little bit of anxiety as to like how life would be, and luckily they weren't entirely accurate with the outcomes of where we are today, but it did kind of you know I guess make me start thinking like, okay, well, how can I have a job that helps mitigate climate change, or at the time it was just global warming. But and so I guess that was kind of like the spark. And then from there, I kind of just started to dabble in a few different things, and next thing I know, I'm here.
Interesting. Yeah, Inconvenient Truth was definitely influenced me. For me as well, around that age, in terms of financial and sustainability, definitely an effective documentary, some good rhetoric there.
Yeah.
Uh, so, just speak more about your educational background. Anything in particular you learned in part of your undergrad or graduate education, or maybe something you participated in, organization, club, internship around that time that really helped you prepare for your eventual career in sustainability?
Um, yeah. So when I was an undergrad, I was a physics major at SUNY Geneseo, it's a state school up in like Western New York. Um, I had a really interesting professor that was starting a new project. He was one of the few people that was like pretty interested in sustainability and like the actual physics behind solar panels. So I did have like a class that, went a little bit into that. And he said, I have this really new research opportunity where we're trying to kind of develop an off-grid research facility. And just it was just like a space down at the bottom of campus where we pretty much had a plot of land to essentially do whatever we wanted. So we were kind of using it as a test bench for installing our own solar panels or doing like a small, like, low velocity wind turbine or practicing with solar thermal principles, and we would just run our own experiments. And I thought that was really cool, and I just kind of served as like a research assistant for my 4 years there. So I guess that it was what made me like a little bit more focused in sustainability. And then I guess maybe that sort of helped define like, okay, like I want to keep pursuing that. But after undergrad, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So I'm like, okay, grad school it is, and to give myself a little bit more time to think about it. And then, I think I just once I graduated grad school, I was really applying to any job that had a sustainable element or energy related element. Um, and I was trying to target more so the built environment, just because I really do like architecture, and figured that maybe my role could kind of help marry the two. And it worked out great because now a time is when architects are really thinking about sustainability, and we have groups like this that Build Green CT that really prioritize these building design elements early on rather than having it be an afterthought.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, it seems like the industry is heading in a good direction, slowly but surely. So now you've been a professional for some time. Is there some advice that you give to developing professionals, emerging professionals, something that you know now that you wish you had known when you were starting out?
I guess like a couple things. The one is I underestimated how much or how little uh, the average person cares about sustainability and environmental issues. I kind of always thought like that would be like a no-brainer, like, oh, you want to add solar panels to your house, or you want to have a more fuel efficient car. I thought those were always like no-brainers for people, but it's everyone has different priorities, and so if you're like a designer or a consultant, you're trying to convince your client to do something, you always can't just lean on the the sustainability principles that are important to you. You have to find out other ways that could kind of get their buy-in, whether that's money, cost savings, or human health is now a big aspect of it. Um, and so that was tricky for me, and I it took me a while to kind of understand like not everyone's going to really have that same energy. Um, but don't, be discouraged, because it does feel really good once you kind of get people on board and you can talk to them about something you're interested in and really have them have a building product or whatever, an outcome of a project that they didn't really expect. And then you kind of won somebody over and now they're kind of thinking about, all of these things like moving on, which I think is really cool, just to try and bring people onto this side of, the industry. And then I guess the other thing recently for me is, with the current administration, and the attitudes towards, sustainability and just the environment as a whole, is to not get discouraged. I know it's going to seem like a pretty long, 4 years where they're not prioritizing really anything about, the environment, air quality. The EPA just is not what it was under previous administrations. But don't get discouraged. There are still a lot of people out there that are, still doing, a good work and are really committed, and things are still ongoing. So even though you see things like incentives or, tax credits starting to go away, that doesn't mean those projects are ending. And there are, communities out there that you can kind of latch on to and, kind of find your people and, keep it moving.
That's a very hopeful message. Thank you. I think I need to hear that whole thing.
Yeah.
I totally agree though. I remember like I was even feel like a conversation I just had with film impressions and it's like my clients don't care about stuff. But yeah, I was literally having this conversation yesterday. So yeah, finding other ways, particularly the building sector, to market sustainability,
hmm
luxury good, like you said, or yeah, health, comfort, lots of different approaches there as well.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of different things that attract people. Like, and I noticed like a lot of people from my generation, they do like care about the environment, and so you'll be working with like a large apartment designer, and you'll tell them like, hey, you'll get a certain types of renters or people to buy these units, if you are a LEED certified building, because that does like inspire people to want to like move into your facility. And so there are all sorts of different ways to get people to care, which I always find interesting, is what makes people tick, I guess.
Yeah, totally. In New York City now we have these like letter grade which you get for energy efficiency that you put in the front of your building, which I
I
think
would
is
love if Connecticut started to go that route. I don't think we're that close yet, but we are trying to do something similar in Stanford with like a sustainability scorecard. We're not as, strict about it as New York City is, but it would be nice to kind of get the Connecticut, built environment to head in that direction.
yeah, it's kind of funny. You have these like 10, 12, $15 million developments. They have like a D hanging in the door. You know, sends an interesting
Yeah,
message.
yeah, it's like you spend all this investment and you're not energy efficient and you're just kind of hemorrhaging money because you could have been a tighter building and saved a lot. But yeah.
Look into the future. Any emerging trends or technologies, maybe specific to Connecticut, maybe on a more national or international scale that you're particularly excited about?
It's a little catch 22 because I am excited about electrification and decarbonization, but I also think it has a place, and then not every building should go all electric. So that is something that I think is really important, that we're seeing that heat pumps are really efficient and can handle cold climates. But in Connecticut, it's tricky because electricity is so expensive. So I hope people, kind of know what they're getting themselves into, or, if they're replacing an old gas unit in an older building that's not, doesn't have a tight envelope, it could be a bad move. So it's tricky because I like that, the utilities are really, you know, trying to get people to go with geothermal systems that are more energy efficient and cleaner. But um, so it's a little tricky. It excites me, but also concerns me a little bit. Um, and then another thing that, is I don't know how far along we are yet, but vehicle to grid, in terms of EV charging and discharging. That's kind of the concept where, instead of your car is charging and, taking from the grid, you're actually returning to it, and you kind of get a monetary like incentive to discharge some of your battery to help support the grid kind of during those times of peak demand. Connecticut, I don't think is super close to doing that yet, but there are talks amongst the utility companies to try and pilot that a little bit, and that's something we're actually doing with one of our projects at Stanford. So hopefully it's something that comes to fruition, because I think it could be a really cool revenue stream for people that they haven't really thought of, and really just gets people thinking more about time of use and energy, and what it means to be using like a clean grid versus having to turn on one of those like more dirty peakier plants, like a carbon like a coal-based plant or something to meet demand. So that's exciting. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you. Yeah, not only a cleaner grid, but a smarter grid.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, smart grid is definitely a very important. And yeah.
Yeah, I know the electrification thing is kind of a little tricky. Everyone wants to talk about electrifying, but putting the carpet for the horse, like should we be talking about management and reducing your consumption, electrifying if possible. But it does seem like we're hurtling in that direction rather than worse, despite the fact. So
Yeah, yeah.
getting to the end of my list of questions here, opening it up to the group if you guys want to spend any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, hey Brandon, it's really nice to see you here, and I really appreciate you catching us up with what you're doing. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
It's nice to see you too, Alicia.
Yeah. So prior to today's career conversation, I've continuing to hear really great things about the City of Stamford and their sustainability initiatives. So I think it's super cool that you work there. And then during this interview, you mentioned, I was like, whoa, sustainability scorecard. Like, I want to learn more about that. But I guess my question is, how big is the sustainability department in this for the city? Is it sort of one department, or do you have sustainability professionals like yourself who are braided in to across the departments so that the city is sort of cohesively pursuing a variety of sustainability measures?
That is a great question. So there isn't a sustainability department per se, but there are, individuals in different departments that are focused on that in terms of how they incorporate it into their projects. This is something that's pretty new. We have a mayor that is very keen on, climate science, environmental stewardship. And so when she came on board, she transformed some of the roles a little bit. So the facilities director is now kind of the director of facilities and sustainability, where, everything we do in our building operations, we try and also kind of have that sustainability umbrella added to it. We have me, who kind of works in the engineering department, and tries to apply things here. And then we have folks on the planning side, like land use as well as traffic. But there's just a couple of us that kind of have the buzzword in our title. But yeah, it's something that we've been trying to do more as just like a city. The mayor put out something called a climate executive order, which kind of directed departments to put more focus and emphasis on some of these things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that we've been thinking about doing a program either where we're featuring, different people from the city, including yourself, but now you've increased my interest even more so, because I have to say I didn't know that the mayor was so forward on climate, and I guess it does make sense. I mean, when I became executive director about 7 years ago, we had a board member who was part of Stanford, like, what was it, 2030 or 2050? I don't remember what the program was, but then it kind of petered off. So it sounds like your mayor has really re-energized the city's priorities to pursue sustainability. And I think, again, that that could be a great example and great inspiration for other cities and municipalities across the state.
Yeah, yeah, and you definitely hit the nail on the head there. Actually, my role it was kind of a transformation from my predecessor. Her title was actually utility manager. She mostly handled like, a lot of the day-to-day stuff, streetlight management, like utility bill paying, and she would try and get involved in energy efficiency projects where she could, but um, it wasn't like a priority to start like researching new things that the city could be doing, or do a lot more cross-departmental work. So they kind of rebranded the role, to what it is now, and the job description was just so broad. I wasn't really deeply searching for a new job at the time, but I came across a job for the municipality that's, prioritizing net zero, using terms like just energy efficiency. There's not many cities out there that kind of have a role like this. And so that's one of the reasons why I, kind of went for it, and it's turning out pretty well.
I kind of have a question off of that. And that's awesome. And thanks for answering all the questions earlier. Um, I'm curious, like I have two questions, but maybe I'll just save one. Um, what's kind of been like the biggest like benefits and challenges of like working for a city? Although if you're like in the office and you can't say that right now, like I have a different question. So
It's okay. I am in the office.
okay.
I'm not shy of, expressing the challenges.
Okay.
I hope my colleagues aren't, secretly making fun of me as I'm just talking about myself here. But so I would say the biggest challenge is, kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is getting that buy-in from people.
Mm,
In Stanford and other cities, you have a lot of people that, need to approve of funding. So Stanford, we have a planning board, we have the board of finance, and then we have a board of reps, which is like a 42 member voting board. And when we bring a large, capital project through there or requesting funds, we need them to kind of get a buy-in on this.
mhm,
And one of the things that I struggled with a lot when I first came here was, just getting EV chargers put in place. To me, I thought like, oh, that's like a no-brainer. The city's talking about, electrifying their fleet. Let's do this. And
mhm.
immediately people are just like, we're going to be spending millions of dollars on electricity and going to make our bills go through the roof. And uh, there was a lot of just like kind of, I don't want to say fear mongering, but a little bit of that, where kind of people would throw things out that they hear in the news, and kind of use that to either kind of derail the project or hold things up. But it's been a challenge to try and, win those folks over. But when you finally do, it feels really good. And now some of those projects are actually moving along. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually that touches on my second question. I don't want to monopolize, but like the buy-in thing you brought up was really interesting. Like, can you share like a time when like it was like no, 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 and then like it got you got it and you got somebody because of a different approach, and like what was that approach like?
honestly, I don't know if I have like a hard-hitting moment like that for you, but um, one thing we've done with like the EV project, for example, is, at first it started off with like a really large, putting EV chargers on every single floor of the
Mm,
the four-story, government center garage.
mm-hmm,
And after, hearing feedback from some of the board members, we tried to, reorganize where things were, the quantity and scale of the project, to be a little less, intimidating. And try to approach it more as like a phased rollout rather than, okay, everything's changing to EVs at once. And so I think that got people, a little bit more warmed up to the idea.
mm-hmm,
Did a lot of engagement with like the fire department and fire marshal's office, in terms of, where they would prefer to see these chargers, in the case of any sort of emergency.
mm-hmm,
Um, EV EVs are much less likely to catch on fire than ICE vehicles, but that concern is there because people hear it in the news. So, just trying to level with people and hear what their concerns are. And so
mm-hmm,
the folks that were concerned about, oh, the city's going to be paying millions of dollars, we decided, okay, let's, charge, just a small rate to earn the cost of electricity back. And that got some people on board. Um, so yeah,
Interesting.
it takes a while, but
Yeah.
um, it did pay off in this instance. It doesn't always happen.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So it sounds like you have to deal with a certain level of misinformation.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
and I imagine, I mean, I hear you talking about, people worried about electric vehicles exploding and stuff like that. So it sounds like part of your job is educating the public
It is, yeah.
and even, I mean, people in the city. That's kind of sounds like extra work, an extra part of your job description.
Yeah, it's not anything I honestly thought would be happening. I thought I was just kind of taking an engineering job for a city and kind of would be just working, quietly in the background. But that's not really what it is. I end up, having to have these conversations with people where I'm, trying to educate them, and it's hard for me because I don't really like to do that, but it's gotten me out of my shell a little bit. And it's made me kind of have connections with folks from throughout the city that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise. And it's really cool to see someone that's kind of the salt of the earth, blue collar, diesel truck person, and have them kind of see, oh, there's benefit to this. So it's hard, but I would say it's worth it. But definitely not something I expected.
Are there any particular resources you could share with us that you find help convince other people? Like whether it's, I would say the EPA website, but or just, yeah, because I mean, I think I find that people want kind of a third party source. I mean, I can talk till I'm blue in the face about how important air tightness is or something, but people really like to see other places tell them that. So I
Yeah,
wonder if you have any sort of go-to
I don't.
resources.
Yeah, I don't really have like the kind of silver bullet go-to. What
Mhm.
I've been finding that is helpful for me is I try to talk to other cities throughout the country that have
Hmm.
similar jobs to what I have. They're more of like just or like energy manager or um, but like something similar to what I do, and try to get an understanding of how they've went about a project. One thing I learned is, Stanford does not like to really be the first to do anything. We kind of want to see like, oh, how did another town fare with this? And so I'll try to go out and find those examples and see what works or what doesn't. Try to get as many lessons learned as I can. Um, like for instance, we haven't never done like an all electric school before. We have a lot of school construction projects happening for the city. And one thing I really help try to do is connect the city staff with other municipalities. So like Manchester is one of them. They have one of the first net zero elementary schools, and try to connect those, design teams and have people do site visits and stuff to see, what's going on. And um, so that's what I found has been helpful. And I've learned a lot and made a lot of connections that way. But yeah, I always kind of see what else is out there, and then use that as example to kind of show the proof of concept to people.
Yeah,
And
I
that,
appreciate how valuable that can be.
yeah, and if it is something new that I want to try, I will just quietly do that in the background and and
There
frame
was
it as a pilot or something like that.
somebody from the city of Stamford at the Bullard Havens Tech School, which is the first tech school in Connecticut to be all electric.
Yeah, I actually worked on that at my old job,
Oh, neat.
because it was in like a UI like service territory, so it was cool to kind of see it come full circle. And
it-
yeah, I know some of my colleagues had went there to see the site
yeah.
visit.
Yeah, no, that was a really, really cool tour. And I mean, I think the students who are going to be attending that school are honestly so lucky. So anyway, yeah, no, I think I can see her name, I can see her face, but her name's eluding me. But
Yeah, I think it was Catherine. Yeah, you might have seen
Del Balboa, am I saying? I can never get her last
Labalbo.
name. Yes,
Yes, yeah.
yes. She was very excited. She said that I didn't realize this, but her role is specializing on schools, I guess. for the city of
Yeah,
Stamford.
she's the director of school construction, so that's more of like
Right.
her niche, and I will collaborate
Yep.
with her a lot. But
Yep.
she'll like take the role on a lot of things. I mostly
Yep.
get
And
involved when it's energy related.
right. And she's a member, so she's all about sustainability all
Oh,
day long.
definitely.
So really
Yeah,
nice really nice synergy.
yeah. No, it works out well. Yeah, the Bullard Havens project, that's very impressive. I hope they like kind of showcase, how many actual geothermal wells that they have there. Like when I remember looking at the design docs, there's just like maybe like 150, 200 wells, like just underneath like the building, underneath all the fields. And it's just, I don't know, that whole process is so impressive. So I do hope they try and communicate that to, the students and staff and visitors, because it's tough because you don't, once it's in, you don't see it and you have no idea, but I think it's worth, talking about and sharing with people.
Well, they did talk about it at the tour anyway. I don't remember what the number was, but it was over 200, I think. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I know it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple minutes left. If there's any other questions? Guys, thanks so much, Brandon, for taking the time. That was awesome.
Yeah, no problem, you guys. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Maybe we'll see you at a future event. BuildGreenCT event.
Yes.
Yeah,
I,
I hope
I
so.
I owe you guys coming to an event. I've been a little MIA lately, but I'll try to, get back into it.
Well, we've
That'd be great.
got plenty of
Awesome.
options.
Yeah.
I'll send the links in the chat again, but we have the tour of the Overland residence, which was built with ICFs, and they have SIP roofs. And then we also have our next career conversations next month on November 20th. And then we also have our birthday benefit. So we'll see you at all three, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, I
we-
mean, Fairfield and Stratford, those are sort of,
Yeah.
in your direction.
That area, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, I still live in like the Milford area, so I'm still like local. So
all right. Well, then we have to see you at the birthday benefit. It's been a really long time. It's going to be really fun this year. What was really fun last year, but we have, of course we're going to, change it up, and we have a fun idea to make it even more like, I don't know. It's good. It's going to be cool. I'm really excited about it. So that was December 4th. Is that where it is?
Yes.
Two
Yep.
Roads Brewery.
oh
Yep.
yeah, that's right. They're right down the road from me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early bird tickets expire on Halloween. So,
Yes.
as soon as this is over, just snag your ticket.
Yep. And that goes for
Alrighty,
everybody on this
yes.
call.
Yeah. This is great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I really appreciate what you're doing here, and I look forward to seeing, other career conversations.
Cool.
All right, we'll let you go, Brandon. Thanks again.
Great,
Alright.
thanks for your time.
Have a good day, guys.
Oh, those are some nice smiling faces.